in our lead stories. Nationally, it's time to get 3 MPs from Nevis in the federal parliament, so says Nevis's deputy premier. And Nevis Water Department records an increase in revenues collected from 2018 to 2019, over $3 million in arrears of unpaid bills at NWD. Regionally, Dominica Labour Party wins 5th consecutive term in government. Internationally, serial rapists given 33 life sentences. And in sports, Lakers' Anthony Davis scores 50 points in 142-125 victory over Minnesota Timberwolves. We'll have the details of these and other stories after this message.
Takes an in-depth look into business, politics, science, technology, religion, and more.
Another Look.
Featuring documentaries from the BBC, regional features, and local ones too.
Another Look.
Every Monday at 3 p.m. on the Eastern Caribbean's Powerhouse.
Wrong.
Welcome back, and now national news in detail. Nevis's Deputy Premier, the Honorable Alexis Jeffers, has expressed his view with respect to the current number of seats the Concerned Citizens Movement CCM has in the federal parliament as the next general elections loom in the federation due constitutionally by early 2020. The Team Unity Coalition is made up of the People's Action Movement PAM with 4 seats, CCM with 2 seats, and the People's Labour Party with 1 seat. The opposition St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, SKNLP, 3 seats, and the Nevis Reformation Party, NRP, 1 seat. The representatives from the constituencies of Nevis 9, 10, and 11, respectively, are the Honourable Mark Brantley, the Honourable Vance Amory, and the Honourable Patrice Nisbet. Last Thursday, Minister Jeffers made this remark and made his position clear.
We have an election looming, and there's a gentleman, I'm going to call him Patrice Nisbet. 20 years he has been in the federal parliament. It's time for the people of Nevis 11 to tell Patrice Nisbet, enough is enough. You haven't bring one thing to the people of Nevis 11, St. James and St. Thomas's. Not one thing, but that has to change. Because based on what we've been able to accomplish with just 2 members in the federal parliament, it's time to get 3. And the only way you can get things done is if you're at the table and making an input and making a case for yourself.
The minister added,
it is time for us to get away from a situation and a scenario where 2 persons are down there speaking on behalf of Nevis, and then you have the Spanish station in the farm of Patrice cutting in and talking, opposing the people of Nevis and the development of Nevis. That can't be right. We are looking foolish when you have somebody down there talking against the island of Nevis and voting against what is right and good for Nevis. That can't be right. So it is time for us to turn the corner on this one after 20 years of doing nothing, bringing back nothing. So now we have gone and paved the way. We still have this naysayer. We have this guy who is saying everything is wrong in Nevis.
Nevis's Deputy Premier, the Honourable Alexis Jeffers. Minister with responsibility for water services here in Nevis, the Honourable Spencer Brand, has provided some statistics as it relates to the aforementioned. On Thursday, November 5th, while speaking in the Nevis Island Assembly, Minister Brand gave these statistics with regards to the revenue that the Nevis Water Department collected from 2018 to 2019 since the 30% increase on water bills here on Nevis.
In 2018, we saw total revenue of $4.8 million. And for 2019, we have seen an increase of revenue of $5.184 million. So the people have responded. The general public would have responded with an additional $250,000+ in the payment of their water bill.
Minister Brand provided some numbers about unpaid bills.
We are still seeing that there are arrears in water bills at the Water Department of over $3.4 million. I want to appeal to our people to please to pay their water bill. I am asking our people to do their very best to reduce this arrears of $3.4 million.
Minister with responsibility for water services here on Nevis, Honorable Spencer Brand. Leader of the opposition and St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party, SKNLP, Dr. Honorable Denzel Douglas, has congratulated Dominica's Prime Minister and political leader of the Dominican Labour Party, DLP, the Honorable Roosevelt Skerrit, following his victory in Friday's general elections. The DLP won 18 of the 21 seats, giving it an unprecedented fifth term in power. In a statement issued on Friday evening, he was quoted as saying, "Despite a very spirited fight, voters vindicated your leadership. Congratulations to all of the DLP." The SKNLP leader also offered his support in assisting Mr. Skerrit's initiatives with respect to bring back the country to a state of calm in the wake of the protests that occurred in the country leading up to elections. Dr. Douglas noted that as national elections loom in St. Kitts and Nevis, "I agree that we of the next-gen SKN Labour Party are next. General elections are due constitutionally by early 2020 here in St. Kitts and Nevis." Reports reaching the VON Newsline have revealed that the building that houses the East Bastia constituency office of the St. Kitts Nevis Labour Party SKNLP candidate, Dr. Jeffrey Hanley, has been vandalized. Last Sunday, December 1st, the building on Stamford Street, St. Kitts, was defaced and flags that decorated the building as well as the fence were removed and destroyed. Then, on Tuesday, December 3rd, the perpetrators attacked the constituency office again by spraying graffiti with the name of the current parliamentary representative, the Honorable Ian Patches-Liburd, on the sides of the two-story building. Officers from the Criminal Investigation Department visited the compound after a formal complaint was made to the Bastia police station. A statement from the SKNLP on Wednesday noted that over the last few years, there have been many attempts to destroy the offices and property of several SKNLP candidates. In 2015, the constituency office of the Honorable Marcel Liburd was broken into, damaged and burnt. In November 2017, the constituency office of the Honorable Conwys Maynard was broken into, severely damaged, and more than 60% of the building was burned. Earlier this year, the constituency office of His Excellency Steve Renford was extensively gutted by an early morning blaze. In the statement, the SKNLP said it will not be intimidated by these acts of vandalism, but continues to hope for fair and peaceful elections. Promoting the participation of persons with disabilities and their leadership, taking action on the 2030 Development Agenda. That was the theme for this year's observance of International Day of Persons with Disabilities, which is observed annually on December 3rd. Minister with responsibility for social services in St. Kitts, Honorable Eugene Hamilton, says St. Kitts and Nevis join the rest of the world in observing the day as the government continues to implement concrete steps to help those in the society who are differently abled. He highlighted that this year's theme focuses on the empowerment of persons with disabilities for equitable development. Minister Hamilton made mention of the installation of a lift at the government headquarters as part of the many programs the government has employed to further empower and include persons with disabilities in the society. According to UN.org, the annual observance was proclaimed in 1992. It aims to promote the rights and well-being of persons with disabilities in all spheres of society and development, and to increase awareness of the situation of persons with disabilities in every aspect of political, social, economic, and cultural life. Police here in Nevis are investigating what they say is a sudden death. Reports are that Ramesh Waju, a Guyanese national resident in Bath Village, who was accompanied by his wife, was walking along the Long Point Road in the area of Stella Engineering when he collapsed. He was pronounced dead on the scene by District Medical Officer Dr. Shandy Jacobs. The incident is reported to have taken place at about 7 a.m. on Sunday, 8 December 2019. A post-mortem will be conducted to determine the cause of death. In more police news, police are investigating an armed robbery that occurred in Bastia on Friday, December 6th. According to police report, investigations so far have revealed that at about 4:50 p.m. on Friday, 2 masked men entered a supermarket on the Island Main Road in Camps and demanded money from one of the cashiers. They had what appeared to be firearms. They also took a sum of cash from the cash register before fleeing the scene. No one was injured during the incident. The Nevis Appropriation 2020 Bill 2019 was passed in the Nevis Island Assembly on Thursday, December 5th. The purpose of the bill, which is to the tune of $239,713,000 EC dollars, is to appropriate certain sums of money for the use of the public service of the island of Nevis for the financial year commencing on the first day of January 2020 and ending on the 31st day of December 2020. Last Tuesday, Premier of Nevis and Minister of Finance, Honorable Mark Brantley, read the bill a first time and presented the 2020 budget under the theme, Building Resilience, Improving Infrastructure for Long-Term Development, a Harmonized Approach to Economic Growth. According to the Premier, the 2020 budget represents an 11% reduction when compared to the 2019 budget of $269.6 million EC dollars. Parliamentarians of the government side support the bill during the budget debate on Wednesday, December 4th and Thursday, December 5th. However, lone member of the opposition, the Honorable Joseph Parry, was not present for the debate. 29 new recruits are undergoing general duty training at the Police Training School in St. Kitts in preparation for Carnival 2019-2020. Over the next 2 weeks, the recruits will be taught topics such as statement writing, local history, crowd control, and internal security, among others. A police press release says this will help to prepare them to execute their duties at the various carnival activities planned for the month of December and January. At a brief ceremony last Monday, Assistant Commissioner of Police with responsibility for operations, Adolph Adams, reminded the recruits of the seriousness of the job and encouraged them to maintain a high level of professionalism. This year's course comprises of 29 recruits, 21 males and 8 females, with the majority hailing from St. Kitts and Nevis and others from Grenada, Jamaica, Dominica, and St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And finally, in a brief ceremony in New York, the permanent representative of St. Kitts and Nevis, His Excellency Sam Condor, together with the permanent representative of Bosnia-Herzegovina, His Excellency Sven Alcalaj, signed a joint communique and established diplomatic relations between St. Kitts and Nevis and Bosnia-Herzegovina on Friday, December 6th. The ambassadors expressed mutual desire to pursue deeper diplomatic relations, including the possibility of signing a mutual visa waiver agreement. Bosnia-Herzegovina is a country on the Balkan Peninsula in southeastern Europe and gained independence from the former Yugoslavia in 1992. Bosnia is a lower middle-income country with mining, metal, and agriculture as its main industries, as it vies for European Union membership with a population of 3.8 million. That's the national news segment. You can visit our website at www.vonradio.com or check us out on Facebook at Von Radio or our Von Radio YouTube channel for these and other stories. News from across the region is next.
It's Christmas, and the Bank of Nevis Limited has special gifts just for you. Thinking about traveling to reconnect with family and friends, maybe purchasing gifts for your loved ones, or showing that special person in your life you care? Well, let's do it! Get an easy access loan up to $20,000 unsecured this season. Of course, that's not all. Our credit cards are easy to use and can be used anywhere in the world. So come and visit our Christmas tree this season for your mortgage, land, vehicle, and credit card presents. It's Christmas at the Bank of Nevis Limited, and we are improving the quality of life.
Ho, 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 ho! Merry Christmas!
Welcome back, and now the regional news in detail. The Dominican Labour Party, DLP, led by Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit, has won an unprecedented fifth term in general elections in Dominica. Dominicans went to the poll on Friday, December 6, amidst weeks of protests and court battles, which ended on the eve of the elections with the Court of Appeal upholding the decision of the High Court judge not to grant an injunction to stop the elections. According to preliminary reports of the election, the DLP won 18 of the 21 seats in the island's parliament, with the wife of Prime Minister Melissa Skerrit comfortably winning the Roseau Central seat, which has been a stronghold of the United Workers' Party, UWP. DominicanNewsOnline.com says Joseph Isaac previously held that seat for the UWP but crossed the floor to the DLP and was made a government minister. He contested the Roseau North seat for the DLP but lost. Among the casualties for the opposition, United Workers' Party, UWP, is its deputy leader, attorney-at-law Joshua Francis, who lost his Roseau South seat to newcomer Sharika Locard Hippolyte. The UWP held 6 seats before the last general elections and the DLP 15. Supporters of the Dominican Labour Party took to the streets in jubilation as they celebrated their party's victory. Meanwhile, Prime Minister and leader of the DLP, Roosevelt Skerrit, issued an address on nationnews.com to the people of Dominica Friday night, December 6, after the elections and expressed his gratitude.
My dear people, the elections are over. They were, as the Dominican Labour Party has always promised, free and fair. The national general elections were conducted under the laws that have governed elections in this country in the 41 years since independence. The people of the Commonwealth of Dominica have spoken, and I want to thank them for giving the Dominican Labour Party a resounding victory and returning us to office for another term as the next government. I want to thank you for giving me the honor and privilege of serving you as Prime Minister and for electing the Dominican Labour Party as your government.
He also stated that in spite of the protests which occurred last week, the people have made their preferred choice.
It was Labour's contention from the very outset that the ballot box is a fair and legitimate expression of what the people want. It was always Labour's preferred choice over the divisive rhetoric and actions which put nationals in fear, harmed our social fabric, our economy, and our international reputation. Our citizens have made their choice. We must all now respect that. Given the atmosphere of fear and intimidation created by the United Workers' Party opposition over the course of this campaign, many people could have opted to stay at home. But Dominicans have once again shown tremendous determination, courage, and resilience in the face of all the odds.
Dominica's Prime Minister Roosevelt Skerrit. More news from Dominica. Dominicans are fearful of a more political strife and possible violence following the opposition and United Workers' Party's UWP rejection of last Friday's general election results and condemnation of the observer mission's findings that the poll was free and fair, according to nationnews.com. In a near 60-minute Facebook broadcast on Saturday night, UWP leader Lennox Linton said that unfortunately the people of Dominica had their hopes set aside, dashed by yet another stolen election. He called on his countrymen to rise up and stand up to ensure that those who have done wrong to Dominica pay for their deeds. We need now to demand fresh elections because, as far as we are concerned, this illegitimate result renders the election null and void, and it renders the government null and void, Mr. Linton said. And finally, out of the Cayman Islands. Residents of Grand Cayman felt an earthquake earlier today, Monday, December 9th. The United States Geological Survey reported that a magnitude 5 earthquake occurred at 1:12 a.m. about 47 miles east-southeast of East End at a depth of 6.2 miles. CaymanCampus.com says no tsunami alert appeared to have been issued. Residents took to Facebook and other social media to report feeling the short but strong tremor. According to the USGS, the quake was felt in the Cayman Islands, Honduras, and Cuba. That's it for regional stories. Stay with us for news from around the world. Welcome back, and now the international news in detail. A serial rapist who carried out a string of sex attacks on 11 women and children across England has been given 33 life sentences. Joseph McCann's victims were aged between 11 and 71 and included 3 women who were abducted off the street at knife point and repeatedly raped. He was found guilty of 37 offenses at the Old Bailey on Friday. Mr. Justice Edis said McCann, who must serve a minimum of 30 years, was a threat to children and a pedophile. The judge described him as a classic psychopath and called for an independent and systematic investigation into why the system failed to protect Mr. McCann's victims. The 34-year-old's spree of sex attacks started in Watford in April before he moved to London, Greater Manchester and Cheshire over a 2-week period. On April 25th, a 21-year-old woman was snatched in Edgware, North London, as she walked along the street with her sister. The pair finally managed to escape when McCann drove to Watford, where he had booked a hotel room, and one of them hit him over the head with a vodka bottle before they fled to get help. I grew up in a world where a woman who looks like me, with a kind of skin and my kind of hair, was never considered to be beautiful. I think that it is time that that stops today. That's the message from newly crowned Miss Universe Zozibini Tunzi, who is from South Africa. More than 90 women from across the world took part in the pageant, which was held in Atlanta in the U.S. on Sunday. Zozibini beat Puerto Rico's Madison Anderson and Mexico's Sofia Aragon in the final 3 to take the tiara. Finalists in the competition were asked to range the questions on topics such as climate change, protest, and social media. In a final question, 26-year-old Zozibini was asked what we should be teaching young girls today. Her answer was leadership. Zozibini is the first black woman to win the competition since Lila Lopez in 2011. The leaders of Russia and Ukraine will hold their first face-to-face talks in an attempt to tackle 5.5 years of conflict in East Ukraine. More than 30,000 people have died in fighting between government forces and rebels backed by Russia. Now there is hope of a breakthrough after Ukraine withdrew from 3 areas and accepted a series of conditions. President Volodymyr Zelensky will join Russia's Vladimir Putin in Paris, along with the leaders of France and Germany. Elected with a landslide earlier this year, Mr. Zelensky built his improbable campaign around bringing peace to eastern Ukraine. However, the announcement of talks between the 2 presidents has angered some Ukrainians. The BBC's Jonah Fisher reports.
Mr. Zelensky, he won a landslide election earlier this year, and his headline promise in that election campaign was to really do everything to try and bring peace to eastern Ukraine. There will no doubt be difficult aspects of a deal if it does get that far, that some people in Ukraine will find very difficult to swallow. So I think he is aware that he is racing against the clock. There have been some demonstrations in Kiev against what might be agreed as part of these talks. Some people are calling it a capitulation, just the measures that were taken to get these talks underway.
Finally, Juice WRLD, a U.S. rapper who shot to fame on music streaming platforms, has died at the age of 21. Celebrity news website TMZ said he died after suffering a seizure at Chicago's Midway Airport on Sunday morning. Juice WRLD's real name, Jarrad Anthony Higgins, was best known for his viral 2018 hit Lucid Dreams. Mental health, mortality, and drug use were common themes in his music. His record label Interscope Japan A&M Records said Juice WRLD was an exceptional human being. That brings us to the end of our news segment. The latest in sports is next.
Get more than just VAT. TDC Automotive is giving you more. Pay no VAT on the first $100,000 on any vehicle. No deposit, no interest for the first 3 months. That's no VAT. No deposit, no interest. We give you more, so you save more. Receive up to $3,000 in cashback credit. Save up to 60% off your insurance premium. Get your personalized TDC token for 2 years of instant savings. Plus, save thousands in free extras. Get more than just VAT from TDC Automotive. We're #1 for a reason. Terms and conditions apply.
Welcome back. Another sports in detail. In basketball, Anthony Davis scored a season-high 50 points as the LA Lakers beat the Minnesota Timberwolves 142-125. Davis scored 20 of his 29 field goals attempt and 10 from the free throw line to become the third Lakers player this decade after LeBron James and Kobe Bryant to score 50 points. James added 32 points with 13 assists. Lakers coach Frank Vogel said Davis's performance was one for the ages, adding it was an old-school, smash-mouth way of getting 50 no threes. The Lakers boast the best record in the NBA with a 21-3 win-loss record this season. Davis and James, who scored 39 and 31 points respectively in the 136-113 win over the Portland Trail Blazers on Saturday, are the first pair of Lakers teammates to score 70 points or more in back-to-back games since Bryant and Shaquille O'Neal in 2003. Still in basketball. Here are the scores from last evening's games. Nets 105 to Nuggets 102. Hawks 122 to Hornets 107. Heat 110 to Bulls 105. 76ers 110 to Raptors 104. Clippers 135 to Wizards 119. Kings 110 to Mavericks 106. OKC Thunder 108 to Trailblazers 96. In cricket, India beat the West Indies in the first T20 International of the West Indies Tour of India at Hyderabad on Friday, December 6th. Scores were India 209 for 4 in 18.4 overs, target 208. West Indies 207 for 5. India won by 6 wickets with 8 balls remaining. In the second T20 International on Sunday, December 8th, the scores were India 170 for 7, West Indies 173 for 2. West Indies won by 8 wickets. In basketball, the New York Knicks has made another coaching change, firing David Fizdale after barely 100 games on the job. NBA.com says the Knicks cut ties with Fizdale on Friday after 2 straight blowout losses dropped them to 4-18 and promoted assistant Mike Miller to interim head coach. Fizdale ran practice earlier in the day but was then fired along with assistant Keith Smart. The Knicks made no comment on the decision to release Fizdale. The Knicks has lost 8 straight games, with the last 2 by scores of 132-88 to Milwaukee on Monday night and 129-92 to Denver on Thursday night, which Fizdale called sickening after the game. They have the worst record in Eastern Conference after finishing with the worst record in the NBA last season in Fizdale's first season. That's it for sports. The General Weather Report is next. Welcome back. Another local weather forecast for St. Kitts and Nevis. There will be fair to partly cloudy skies tonight with a 20% or slight chance of showers. There will be partly sunny skies tomorrow with a 50% or moderate chance of showers mainly after midday. Winds are east-northeast at 22 to 33 kilometers per hour or 12 to 18 knots with higher gusts during showers as well as over open waters. Seas, a combination of waves and northerly swells reaching 1.8 to 2.4 meters or 6 to 8 feet. A small craft advisory and a high surf advisory is in effect. Sunrise tomorrow will be at 6:29 a.m. And that's a wrap up the major news package for today, Monday night, December 2019. Before we go, let's take a look at the headlines once again. Nationally, it's time to get 3 MPs from Nevis in the federal parliament, so says Nevis's deputy premier. And Nevis Water Department records an increase in revenues collected from 2018 to 2019, over $3 million in arrears of unpaid bills at NWD. Regionally, Dominica Labour Party wins 5th consecutive term in government. Internationally, serial rapists given 33 life sentences. And in sports, Lakers' Anthony Davis scores 50 points in 142-125 victory over Minnesota Timberwolves. On behalf of the rest of the news team, I am Tashan Tyson, wishing you a pleasant evening.